Welcome to Fly Tie Night on Moonlit Fly Fishing. My name is Doug Kinney, and I'm going to be tying the Green Butt Skunk on the new Moonlit Tagatta ML831 size 6 barbless Alec Jackson-style hook. It's got a return eye, and it is barbless, as you can see, and wicked sharp. Before we get started, if you find any value in this video, please make sure to like it, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for future notifications. This helps us as we are working to add value into the community, and it means a lot to us. So go ahead and get started here. I'm just using regular classic waxed thread in black. This is 8/0 made by Semper Fly. I like to start my thread right behind the return eye on the hook, and we'll wrap it to the back. Right where the hook point is where we'll stop. Maybe mention about the hook point being different than one with barb on it too. The hook point on these barbless hooks is quite a bit longer because it doesn't have a barb, and so your 0 point where you start tying is a little bit further forward, and so you kind of have to adjust your tying style to compensate for that extra long hook point. And your finger will also find it rather quickly too if you're not used to it. So what I'm doing now is I'm tying in my tag, and this is just silver tinsel. Any tinsel will work. And I'm going to wrap back and then wrap forward over itself again. I am tying on the new Moonlit Nirvana vise, which grabs this hook really, really well. Okay, now that I've got that tied in, we'll cut our material off right behind the return eye. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to make your body equal all the way down until you get to that return eye. And so you want all your materials to terminate right here, and so when you wrap this forward, it makes a seamless transition. If you want, you can go ahead and wrap your thread forward, securing this tinsel. It's not necessary, but it does help to kind of train it a little bit so it points the right direction. For the tail, I'm just going to go ahead and use red dyed pheasant tippets. If you don't have pheasant tippets that are dyed red, you can use just regular hackle barbs. Hackle barbs off Schlappen work really good. India hen hackle, anything you got that's basically red will work just fine. And so I'm just going to even the tips up on these, and I'm just going to cut it. And then just kind of give it a pinch and a little bit of a roll to kind of clump it up. And we're going to tie these in, and this is kind of a personal preference thing. I like mine just extend past the bend of the hook just slightly. And it might take a couple tries to get them to seat properly. And if you don't like it, just undo it and try it again. Yeah, those look pretty good. Just tie these in and tie it back. For the green butt, I'm going to use Semper Fly Gel Core Micro Fritz in chartreuse. This is a new product from Semper Fly, and so far I've been pretty impressed with it. It adds a lot of color and texture without a lot of bulk. In this evolution of my fly tying phase, I like to fish flies that are sparse and don't absorb a lot of water, because I like to cast this on a two-handed rod. And the lighter your head and your flies are, without sucking up a lot of water, the easier it is to cast. And so for that reason, I really like sparse flies. Something that doesn't take a lot of force to drag out of the water when you're setting your anchor. You might need to just tease that stuff on the side of the hook shank. The number of wraps on this is kind of just personal preference, and you go by how it looks. So far I got 3 on there. It's about 6-7 wraps. Next we're going to tie in our rib. I'm currently using medium oval tinsel from Semper Fly. Use what you got. Small, medium works pretty well. Again, we're going to tie that on the side of the hook shank. Right behind the return eye. You might notice with my thumb, I'm kind of just training the materials to kind of follow the hook shank. So it's not wrapping around the hook shank, it's just staying even. And that'll give you a nice uniform body. Okay, then we'll tie in our black micro flits. Just make that so it terminates at the return eye. Then we'll wrap our thread onto the return eye. Kind of looks like that, about that far. And as you can see right here, we've tried to make that body as even as we can to that return eye. Go ahead and wrap the micro Fritz up. And these are touching turns, I'm wrapping it pretty tight. I want this body to be pretty tight and even throughout. If you got to use your thumb a little bit and tease it, go right ahead. Okay, we're going to stop about a little more than 1/8 of an inch behind the bend of the eyelet. This way we assure that we don't crowd our eye. Okay, now I'm going to wrap my rib through it. 5 turns if I can. Make it about 4.5. Again, this is a personal preference thing. Kind of whatever looks good to your eye is what you want. Traditionally, it was 5 turns. Now we're going to wrap in our hackle, and you can use several things. I've chosen to use a wet hand hackle. You can use schlappen. It all kind of depends on the size of the hackle you got and the size of hook. Obviously, the schlappen will lend itself to bigger hooks. The hen hackle or the hen saddle will lend itself well to smaller flies. Like this is a size 6. This is currently a whiting wet fly hackle in black, red label, and so the hackle is different lengths. So as you get towards the middle, it gets longer. As you get towards the tip, they get shorter. And so you want to find that happy medium in your hackle where you tie in the tip and then you wrap it, and you get the length of hackle barbs that you need. I like to have my hackle go to the hook point or slightly before it. I don't like a overly long hackle on these. And this might take a couple tries to get it right, and that's okay. So wrapping your hackle, and if it doesn't lay out nicely, just kind of tease it with your fingers. And this is going to take a second try. When you tie in return eyes, you want to try to tie on the side and lock the hackle in there. And if you got to move it, you can, and then you can bend the tips that you tied in over and kind of do some locking thread wraps to just secure that on there. And you can wrap this on 3 or 4 turns. Basically, it is personal preference once again, and kind of how it looks, and you'll know. I like mine a little bit sparse, and that was about 3 wraps there, 3.5. Kind of preen that back with your fingers and wrap up to it. You don't want to wrap over the hackle, you just want to wrap up to it. So you get that nice back flowing hackle that gives you a good profile like this. Next we're going to tie in our wing. You can use several things for your wing. Calf tail works really good. Bucktail works equally as well. The old timers, they use polar bear. Polar bear is extremely hard to get legally, and so I'm going to use calf tail tonight. Go ahead and grab a clump about twice the size you think you're going to need. Clean it, stack it, and pull out the longer and shorter fibers, and you should get something fairly even. I like my calf tail wing to go just to the back of the bend of the hook. So about right there. What I like to do is I like to secure it in with a few wraps and kind of look at it and see what it's doing. That's just a little bit long there, so what I'll do is I'll just unwrap it and kind of pull it through a little bit. Put a couple more tension wraps on that. That looks better. It's about right where I want it. Once you got it where you'd like it, I put a couple tension wraps or locking thread wraps underneath of it. And then trim your hair. Go ahead and clean your head up just a little bit. You don't want to make a giant bulky head, but you want to definitely make sure that wing's not going to go anywhere. Next I like to add just a little bit of flash. Something that I really like tying with lately is lateral line in Mirage. It's a little bit more supple than say Crystal Flash, and you use less of it. I just need a strand on each side. And so I'll go ahead and lock that in on the top. Just like you would a pair of rubber legs. Just put it down like that. And we can cut it here in a second. I'm just going to clean up my head a little bit here. You can take your time, make each thread wrap count. And I like to cut this just a little bit longer than my wing. Okay, once you're finished there, just go ahead and whip finish. I like to use a Thompson whip finisher. I'm kind of old school. To finish the fly, go ahead and apply some super glue or head cement. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and again, we want to invite you to find value in this video. Please make sure to like it, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for future notifications. This helps us as we are working to add value into the community, and it means a lot to us.